Greetings, everyone. I'm going to talk a little bit more about the personal political ideology paper. I think we all, including myself, owe a debt of gratitude to Suhei. She sent in a rough draft to me, and in addition to showing me her brilliance, she helped me think of new ways to describe exactly what the paper should look like. So here it goes. The paper itself, if you're thinking of it in your head, sort of the way the paper will be structured, you'll be taking some broader concepts, and as you go through the paper, narrowing them down to specific policy positions. So you'll begin with a sort of very broad general idea of what your political ideology is. You may say, I believe that everybody should be free, everybody needs to take personal responsibility for themselves, everybody should have liberty, blah, blah, blah. So you'll start there, very broad sort of concept and idea, without much sort of framework and definitions. Then you'll want to start narrowing that down. You'll want to define what you mean by those things, what you mean by those concepts. So my definition of freedom is going to be different than your definition of freedom, perhaps. And then you'll want to take those more narrow definitions after you've done that, and apply your sort of abstract concepts of your personal political ideology to specific policy positions that you may hold. So everybody has freedom. You've defined freedom. What does this concept of freedom that you have mean for tax policy, for example? What does it mean for the Affordable Care Act or health insurance in general? What does it mean for education? You can take any sort of number of tracks with that, just whatever you feel most comfortable with, and whatever you think is best to explain your meaning. So one thing about this is people's political ideologies are, very broad and encompassing. You could probably spend 15 pages, 30 pages, 150 pages explaining everything that you believe and why and how it impacts stuff. This paper is a minimum of 2 pages long. And a brief note, when I say a minimum of 2 pages, I mean literally a minimum of 2 pages. If there's a line left on that second page, then you haven't met the minimum. You should probably, to be safe, go a line onto the third page. And you should, of course, follow the other formatting guidelines, double-spaced, 1-inch margins, and you don't need any sort of title page or anything like that. Just put your name on that top of the first page and then write the paper. Okay, so where was I? Okay, so to make it easier, try and focus on a few concepts instead of every sort of concept you may have. And then sort of take it through that process of talking about how you would word that area of your political ideology, and then move it down to sort of what it more specifically means so that we know what you're talking about. When you say personal responsibility, or when you say freedom, or when you say maximizing the social good, what does that mean? And then you want to take it to a specific policy area so we can see how these general concepts that you have play out in a reality sort of based environment. And part of the reason for that is that our theoretical concepts don't always translate as directly as we would like to into reality-based stuff. There can be contradictions, there can be conflicts between your different concepts that you have and different ideas that you have. So doing that helps, talking about how it informs one specific policy position or two, depending on what you want to do, helps, again, further understand what your ideology is and how it actually works. Okay, so to try and help with this, I'm going to verbally answer this question / write the paper. So maybe you'll get an idea of what I'm looking at. So this is what I would do. This is what I would think. One more note, I guess, before I do it is this is personal. So I don't mean like private personal. I mean like it's a self-reflective. It comes from you. So first person is totally cool. It's what you think, not what other people think. You don't need to support your ideas with any other smart people's ideas. Let's just talk about what you believe and what you think and sort of leave it at that. Okay? So make sure you do that. Okay. A couple of main things in my political ideology, what informs my politics, my worldview, is that we are a cooperative species. We have we live in a society, and we all need to take we need to take personal responsibility for our cooperative society and the fact that we're a social species. We need to take, we have a social responsibility to each other. And we need to make sure we order things or do things in a way that allows everybody the maximum opportunity to achieve their goals, their ends, within some constraints, So one of the things that makes humans awesome is we have this agency, we have will, desire, we want to do things in the world, and I want people to have the maximum opportunity to achieve whatever their goal is or whatever their agency wants them to do. So that would be a general thing. Narrowing it down to definitions. When I think of personal responsibility, I'm not thinking of it necessarily in an individualized sense of thinking of personal responsibility in we are like islands onto ourselves, where we need to take responsibility for our situation in life. Often it's thought of as a way to say, people that are poor because they made choices that were bad, and that's why they are the way they are, and they need to take personal responsibility. I want to say everybody needs to take personal responsibility for the fact that where they are in life is a product of our social contract, of sort of what we've made society look like, and the fact that everybody around them in some way contributed to where they are today. So if you are very rich, for example, you need to take personal responsibility for the fact that you're very rich and that you need to give back to society. You have some social responsibility to pay back what others have helped you achieve. So one, we've created a society. There's no reason society needs to be ordered this way, but we have created a society that allows there to be rich people and allows there to be poor people. If we're creating a society like that, rich people are rich because we've allowed them to be rich. So as a sort of payback, they need to take personal responsibility and pay back to society, to all of us that are not rich, because we had allowed them to be rich. So that'd be one aspect of that. The other would be, we all got to wherever we are today because of shared social sacrifice, shared input, working together. We owe a lot to our previous generations as to allowing us to be where we are today, in creating our social society and where we're at. And so we all need to take personal responsibility for that. To borrow a famous line from Obama, that during the Republican National Convention in 2012, they repeated over and over again without repeating the second part of it. You didn't build that. So if you own a business, you didn't build that. What he said after that was, your business is the product of a public education system, public roads, hundreds of years of investment in science and technology and people helping each other out that allowed for the human race to be where it is today. And so you didn't build that solely. You certainly contributed a lot to it, but it wasn't you alone. Nobody on this planet does anything by themselves. We all do everything as a part of a social entity, and so we all need to contribute to ensuring the strength of that social entity, taking personal responsibility for our society. So I guess that would be a kind of definition of that, of what I mean when I say personal responsibility. Social responsibility, kind of very similar, that as a society as a whole, we have a responsibility to each individual to make sure that they can achieve or have every opportunity to achieve what they want to achieve. And we need to construct a society that, to the best of our ability, allows that to happen. So if somebody wants to be an astronaut, we need to provide resources that allows them the opportunity to try and get into that position, to achieve that goal. They may or may not make it. They may not have the intellectual or like personal discipline, whatever, to get there. But we need to try and structure society as best we can to allow everybody to achieve whatever their sort of agency wants them to achieve in life. So how does this all translate into a specific policy issue? I think one obvious way maybe that everybody can see coming is I think taxes should be higher on the rich as a way to redistribute wealth to people that are poor. And I'm like straight out, a lot of people try and like hide the redistribution thing because that's got kind of a negative connotation to it. I don't really think it does, so I'm going to say it. People who have a lot in our society have a lot because of shared social sacrifice among every single member in our society that allowed them to be rich. So it's only fair, I think, for them to pay back a greater percentage of their earnings to other people in society, for them to shoulder a greater burden towards holding society together, towards promoting the social good, because they have more, because they've been able to benefit more from our shared sacrifice. Again, nobody got to where they are by themselves. If you're Bill Gates, for example, good on you. You built a computer in a garage, but That computer that you built is the result of, again, hundreds and thousands of years of human incremental advancement. You built your Microsoft empire on, to borrow a phrase from, I think, Newton. It might have been Einstein, but I think it was Newton. We stand on the shoulders of giants, like when talking about the great personal achievements that either one of them had made. How did you do it? They're like, well, we stand on the shoulders of giants. Everybody that came before them pushed them up, and everybody in society has pushed them up so they can achieve great things or have great riches. So we all need to take responsibility for that. So Bill Gates, he has this historical thing that allowed him to prosper. He's also got to thank the shared sacrifice and work of everybody else around him. Bill Gates cannot do anything by himself. He by himself is nothing. However, with a collective community behind him, with everybody contributing in some way, either through our public education system, building roads, things like that, Bill Gates has the resources available to him to achieve what he wanted to achieve, what he did. So he owes a lot to the fact that we as a society decided it was worthwhile to provide free education to everybody, K through 12. He owes a lot to the fact that we decided as a society it was worthwhile to build roads, to provide for housing for people that were down on their luck, and then allowed those people to make something of themselves later on, which a lot of advancements have come from people who were poor in the beginning that society helped, and then they took advantage of the opportunity and were able to make something of themselves. So that would be one, I guess, specific policy example of how my political ideology would sort of applies to real life. Now there are conflicts there. Everybody should have, every opportunity to achieve whatever, their agency to bring their, to realize their potential, to achieve their life goals, things like that. But we're going to put restrictions on that. We're going to say, like, they're obvious things, like you can't go around killing people if that's your goal. Bill Gates may want to be a trillionaire. Well, part of his personal responsibility and social responsibility will prevent him from being a trillionaire. I'm sorry. Like, you're not allowed to be a trillionaire. That's too much. So that's how that would work. So that would be a conflict that would need to play out. I'm trying to think if there's anything else important. I hope that helped. Take those general ideas, sort of define what they mean, and then put them in a specific policy perspective. Enjoy writing the paper, and like I said, you notice how I just looked at one or two concepts and then defined them, talked about what I meant when I said personal responsibility, and then I talked about tax structure as being a specific thing, and the need for rich people to accept their personal responsibility for the fact that they got to where they are on the backs of everybody else. And I don't mean that in a negative way, on the backs of everybody else, but because everybody else contributed to a society that allowed them to succeed, that created the structure for them to succeed. They need to take personal responsibility for that and pay it back or pay it forward. I would also say that we need to make sure we leave the society to future generations. We have a personal responsibility to future generations to leave or to create a better system because people before us did the same thing, and if they didn't do it, we wouldn't be where we are today, and so we owe it to keep pushing it forward, hopefully, and to continue to make a better society and to leave a better planet for future generations, because that would have sucked for us if people in the past hadn't kind of done that. Certainly there are a lot of big mistakes along the way, and terrible things are happening all around the world, but I don't know, more or less, here we are. And I'm glad there isn't polio, as an example. So, all right. So, good paper writing. Any questions? Email me. Text me. Talk to me on Monday. Whatever. Okay. Have fun.